Welcome to Beyond Wealth, Success Unscripted with Matt Calnan. Discover the personal drive, professional journeys, and business strategies that have made a real impact. It's success from the inside out.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're chatting with Tevi Legge. Tevi is a prominent figure in the field of customer experience and digital product leadership and holds extensive expertise in technology, AI, energy, and burnout. So with a comprehensive understanding of these domains, Tevi has made a significant contribution to the industry and established herself as an authentic expert in this space. So welcome, Tevi, and do you want to just start off by maybe telling us a little bit more about yourself and your journey and what you do?
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Matt. I worked in financial services for 18 years and worked a variety of different roles in financial services from, business development roles. But I spent my last 5-ish years working in technology, change management that was associated with building technology, both building digital products from the ground up, as well as managing kind of vendor, or they're called COTS products, commercial off-the-shelf products for the organization. I led a team of, I've had teams of, the size of 175, 80, size of 5. So I've had all different team sizes from a leadership perspective. In 2023, I got to get my dates right here, I made the decision to walk away from quite a substantial career. I was the vice president and head of digital product at a local financial services organization. I was really burnt out at the time, and I knew that something had to give because I couldn't actually find the balance that I needed to find between serving my family, serving my community, serving the organization. And that was the change I decided to make. So I walked away from a substantial career, from a paycheck, a guaranteed paycheck, and I entered the world of entrepreneurship. And it's been fascinating. It's been a wild ride, and I'm loving every minute of it.
But yeah, let's talk about that transition, because that's a big one, going from a corporate world where you are getting that guaranteed paycheck and relatively well at that position. What was that transition like in terms of the pros, the cons, the challenges?
Yeah, like in all honesty, I had been on 2 mat leaves before, so I like to think of, like, when you're preparing for a mat leave, when you work for a corporation, you prepare to obviously scale back a little bit, but at the same time, you're bringing somebody new into the world that's going to cost you a lot of money. So you have to figure out, how am I going to scale back and prepare to spend more at the same time on things that maybe like you weren't spending on before. And so I just started to really think about the things in my life that I could scale back on in preparation for the fact that I was going to no longer be receiving that steady paycheck. So I did little things like, canceled subscriptions and maybe things that I was more frivolous about in the past in my spending. I just became really tight about our family budget and our family spending and where we spent our money. I had a fancy car. I got rid of that fancy car. We drive 2 used vehicles now. Both of them have over 200,000 kilometers on them. Knock on wood, I hope that they don't break down anytime soon.
Yeah.
So it just really made some conscious choices about cutting back on things that were maybe more frivolous in the spending realm for ourselves. And then I started to really look at, how do I funnel my investments into my own company, because it takes money to start a business. You have to set up systems, you have to marketing, you have to, learn new things. There still is a ton of learning every single day. But yeah, I really just looked at my frivolous spending and thought, how can I repurpose this into a way that's going to create a return for me?
Yeah. Well, and it is one of those things, typically when we're younger, we're a little bit more financially focused. And as we get more, I won't say older, I'll say as we get more experienced in life and have kids and whatnot, your priorities certainly change, and you realize that, money's not the end all be all. There's a lot more to it than that. And so now you've entered that entrepreneurial world. So what are you doing today within that?
Yeah, it's so fascinating, because what I've learned for myself about this world of entrepreneurship is that you do a lot of things. And I don't actually know a lot of entrepreneurs nowadays that like really only do one thing.
Yeah.
They do lots. And so I started a podcast called The Burnout Lab, and I just wrapped up the last episode of season 1. So I
By the
recorded.
way, I have listened to those. They're phenomenal. The
Oh,
episodes are
thank
phenomenal.
you.
Like people need to go and listen to that, especially coming from the corporate world and the burnout side of things. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. So that has taken a lot of my time over the past year. I'm going to be working on season 2 over the summer, where we're going to start to look at things like athletes, youth athletes, like
Okay.
different topics, different mini series of bringing different subject matter experts into the podcast. I have been doing some fractional technology leadership. So working for companies on a contract basis to help them with their technology strategies, to help them with, they might have like deprecating technology and they don't know what to do with it. They might have a tech stack that is really scrambled and all over the place and is not
Yeah.
talking to each other. Like the tech stack doesn't talk to each piece of the layers of the tech stack. So just really helping some local companies with their technology strategy and managing their technology stack, and even entering into the world of technology, because there's just so much out there now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oftentimes, I think it's very overwhelming for entrepreneurs and they don't know what they should invest in. What I've actually found working with some of these entrepreneurs is that they're investing in too much. So they're wasting some of their money on these technologies and they're only using like a fraction of the technology. And they are investing in technologies that all do the same things and they don't realize they can potentially do the same things. So I really have been
Right.
helping companies extract as much value as they can out of their technology investments that they're making. And that I love that. I love the tech space. Like I think, and I've been loved helping companies be able to realize that they can save money and create efficiencies by actually just leveraging their investment into that technology better and more frequently. And I've been doing some leadership coaching as well. So that's been really fun because I don't really have a large team anymore. And I'm working also fractionally for this company out of Calgary, which is called Harvest Builders, doing technology leadership for them as well.
Okay. So
Yeah.
on the technology leadership front, because it's probably an area that a lot of people don't know about. So you're coming in it from like a strategic side and then looking at it infrastructure based, what we need, what we want to accomplish, and then here's how we can go and implement that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And how has that changed over the last couple of years with AI? That's got to be a
Oh,
pretty rapid change.
oh, substantially, like very substantially. And actually, I see so many organizations that aren't using AI or are afraid to use AI.
Yeah.
My most common suggestion that I make to these organizations is actually just go and play with it. Go and use Chat GPT, ask it questions, go and get used to what it can actually do. I trained a person on using Perplexity AI to help them with their copywriting. Because they weren't a professional copywriter. They obviously it's a small business. They don't have the funds to hire a copywriter. I always just say be really bossy. Like when you're using AI, you have to really boss it around. So
Yeah.
like be
Yeah.
really bossy, and if it doesn't get it right, you need to tell it, no, this is wrong. And
It's kind of like
so
the perfect employee. You
it
can tell it
is,
exactly what you think.
and you're not going to hurt its feelings,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
There's no HR.
No, there's no HR. So that's been a lot of fun, just like helping people realize the power of even the simplest aspects of it, let alone like integrating AI into your tech stack or understanding that the data that you own as an organization, it could be worth a lot of money and you don't even realize it. So how are you going to monetize that data? So yeah, like starting from like very beginner, and I would say most of the work I've been doing has been on the lower complexity side of things, but I do love to get into kind of the more complex side of things and understand how, technical architecture needs to look so someone could leverage and monetize their data. And then what does that look like on the front end from an interface or a user experience perspective? So
Yeah.
most of the work I've been doing has been in the less complex area, but I think it's just because that's where most people are at when they're in their like adoption cycle of artificial intelligence.
Yeah. I think the more simplistic you can keep something, the easier it is for somebody then to learn and maybe expand from there. But you don't want to, not necessarily dive in the deep end. Let start in the wading pool a little
Yeah.
bit and see how it goes from there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you obviously have a pretty wide breadth of experience in different organizations, and in different skill sets. What do you think is, the one or two skills that have been most impactful for you, or most help
Mm.
drive towards success?
Um, the willingness to just try something. I think um, just be, even though I maybe don't know what I'm doing or don't know how to do it, like the willingness to learn and try. I think that skill set um, has been really beneficial to me in all areas of my life. Whether I'm working as an entrepreneur or in corporate, it's just kind of the willingness to try.
Yeah.
And also the willingness to say, like, I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
And the willingness to just say, I don't have the answer, but I'm going to figure out how to get the answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of just kind of bullshitting people and coming up with
Yes.
something, it's like, no, 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 I'll go figure it out, but I don't know this today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And what's the transition been like with your family? You have three boys, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's that been like in getting to spend more time with them?
Oh, it's been awesome. Like I was thinking about it when I worked in a corporation, I was booked from like 8 in the morning till like 5 at night in virtual
Yeah.
meetings. Actually,
Mhm.
the amount of vir- the amount of decreased virtual meetings that I've been able to have has been unbelievable. The more
Mhm.
focused time has been unbelievable to actually do focused work. But the flexibility to do things like as simple as drive them to school. Like I think in five
Yeah.
years when I was working in the corporate space, I maybe drove my kids to school like once or twice a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can drive if I want to drive them to school every day. I can. If I want to pick them up almost every day, I can. There's the odd thing that comes up where I can't, but
Mhm.
just to have that autonomy and flexibility over my schedule. I can take them to hockey at 4:30 if they have that at 4:30. Like just the simplest, littlest things that I couldn't do
Yeah.
before that I maybe didn't even realize I couldn't do that I can do now.
Yeah, I absolutely understand that. I'm in a similar boat with you on that one, and being able to have that more freedom in terms of the time with family. But somebody you I'm sure would know is Obed Maurice.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so we talked with Obed probably a couple weeks ago here. He was on the podcast, and he's a good friend of mine. He told me something. This is probably 5 years, 6 years ago. It was before I had kids. Well, it'd be more than 6 years ago then. But he told me one of the really important things in his life is that he really wanted to be able to have a tea party with his daughter every morning because that's what she wanted more in life than anything is a tea party with
Yes.
him. So that's one of the reasons he shifted a lot of the stuff in his work is because he wanted to be able to commit to his family in that way. And it's when your schedule is not driving you and you're able to do those things, it makes a pretty big impact in your life and your experience.
Yeah, yeah, it's been awesome. And I feel like I'm a better mom, I'm a better wife, I'm a better
Yeah.
friend, I am a better community member. And it's not to say that it was a bad organization. It was actually all about me. It was nothing
Hmm.
about them. It
Hmm.
was about me growing and evolving as a person and needing to do something different. And also, I think like you talked about, as we get older, your priorities change, and as you go through significant life events, like I had my parents' health wasn't great and we had some scares. And so, like, I
Yeah.
think as you go through some of these more significant life events, you just start to realize how limited your time is. And so I want to be spending my time making an impact mostly with my family,
Hmm.
first. And my
Hmm.
family was last. I was making an impact with my family last, and I had to switch that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good for you on that. And what was that like, from a family side with your husband? And obviously that's a kind of a joint decision to make to
Hmm.
do that. What was that like? How did that transition go or that
Yeah.
discussion go?
Yeah, so my husband works for TELUS. He's worked for TELUS for like I think over 20 years now. So he
Yeah.
has a steady job, which was a really big factor in enabling me to kind of make this decision, right? And just, I mean, needless to say, still, even though you've worked somewhere for 20 years, it doesn't mean you can't be let go the next day, you know,
Yeah.
like things
Yeah.
happen. But yeah, he's been there for over 20 years. And so we had the discussion about like, you know, at some point we might have to sell our house, or like we had to have all of those discussions. We had to put
Yeah.
everything on the table. He was super supportive. And I think we even have the conversation now that, you know, he even feels like I'm a wife, a better mom, a better friend, a better, you know, daughter, a better daughter-in-law, community member. I was able to go, my mom needed a major surgery. I was able to go back to Saskatchewan and help them for a week, like just little things like that. So the conversation was easy. He's been super supportive in all my wildest dreams that I'm trying to like explore and figure out which path to kind of double down on. I don't think I've figured that out yet, Matt. Like, where do I want to double down in this world of entrepreneurship?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it wasn't hard at all. And we're just very open to adapting to our situation. And we want to be able to show our kids that it's okay to do that too, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, you might have just answered this by saying you're not sure where you're doubling down, but
Yeah.
what is on the horizon? Like, you're going to kind of run different things from the entrepreneurial side and pick a path, or keep going with everything?
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna keep going with the podcast. I don't think it's lived its life yet, but I do. Obviously, I love building things. I'm a builder by nature, and so
Yeah.
I'm working on this other technology platform that I'm building right now. We're doing an early access launch for it in a couple months, and so I'm through this early access period, we'll see if it solves a problem that it needs to solve, or maybe it doesn't. I would love to like run my own tech company. I don't want it to
Okay.
be very big.
Yeah.
I would want to keep it small and scrappy and very much entrepreneur like. Like I have no
Yeah.
desire to, you know, be a Steve Jobs and build an Apple, but
Mm-hmm.
I do love technology. I love building technology. I like solving problems and I like building things. So I think anything that keeps me in that space, I'll be working on.
Yeah. And you had mentioned that you're a couple month rollouts of we'll call it the beta program on that. You're not
Yeah.
going to share any details on it with me, are you?
I can share a little bit.
Yeah, let's hear it.
It's a talent platform.
Okay.
It's very much aimed at kind of the next generation of talent. I think a lot of people are feeling linked out. And so this is really focused on the next generation of talent. We're starting with a very niche group, though. It's very much focused on tech talent at first, because there
Yeah.
is a big struggle in the market to find good tech talent.
Yes.
But yeah, it's called, I'll even tell you the name. It's called
Perfect.
DNA. It stands for Do Not Apply. It's got some really fun branding, some really fun marketing behind it. We are on LinkedIn, so you can find us there, and we're going to start to drop more breadcrumbs about what we're doing. But yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes and see what we can do with it. And if we're solving the right problems, then it will show. And if we're not, it will also show.
Yeah, yeah, which is what you
Yeah.
want, right?
Yeah,
Whether it's good or bad, you want to know what the market thinks of it.
totally. Yeah.
Yeah. And just to clarify, because we've talked with a few different people about the different generations and how they need to be managed differently, and the Gen Z versus baby boomers and whatnot. Is that what you're talking about on the like the younger side of things?
Yeah. Yeah. It's more focused on like some of the questions we asked, I guess, in our customer research are like, you know, what don't you like about the recruitment process?
Yeah,
Oftentimes it's very repetitive.
yeah.
Oftentimes you don't hear back from anyone ever. Oftentimes it's a cultural mismatch with an organization. It can be the values are misaligned with the company. So it's really honing in on not just the individual skills from a talent perspective, but also we have a matching algorithm that we've built that basically matches candidates with companies from a cultural perspective, a values perspective, and a skills perspective. And
Okay.
so that organizations also, like large organizations, sift through thousands of resumes.
Yeah.
This actually prevents the sifting
Hmm.
because the organizations, it's a double-sided marketplace. So there's organizations, there's companies, and there's individuals. the companies will get a list of matched individuals to their organization, not just from a skills perspective, but from a cultural perspective and a values perspective as well.
Okay, very cool, very cool.
Yeah.
And it's always funny asking an entrepreneur this question because it's quite often the same answer. But what does a day in the life look like for you right now then? And you're going to say it's all over the place.
Yeah. It is a little bit, but I try to structure my days actually. I'm a big believer in time blocking because I do need that focused time.
Yeah.
I try to dedicate my Tuesdays and Thursdays to meetings, and then I try to have focused time on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then Friday I use as like a wrap up day. So I do have some repetitiveness, I would say, in like how my weeks are structured. It's just whatever happens in that time could be different.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're obviously in an area on the tech side that's, moves fast and there's a lot of new things to learn. How do you keep up with the educational side of that industry?
It's hard. Honestly, it's so hard. I went to the Google Next conference in Vegas a month or two ago, and I was mind blown, Matt. Like mind blown. Like the world is going to change so rapidly, and we don't even realize it.
Yeah. And that's like with the integration of AI and what that's going to do. And yeah, somebody was telling me the other day that's the difference between like what we're at right now with Chat GPT. I think it's 4.5.
Yes.
To the next level of 5 is like 1,000 times or something crazy like that. And so it's one of those things though where I consider myself a relatively tech savvy person. I'm not tech savvy, just relatively tech savvy. Certainly nothing like you on the leading edge, but even I really struggle to keep up with it and the education around it. I listen to podcasts and it changes like every day. And
it does, like every hour. Honestly.
Yeah. So for you being in a role and having an organization looking at that from a tech forward standpoint for businesses, I think that's something that's needed today, but I think exponentially probably in the next 2, 3, 4 years will be there for organizations.
Yeah, that's a great point. I actually never thought of that because I'm just so like in the weeds of learning what the tech is doing or what the tech is capable of doing. And then oftentimes you need somebody to connect the dots for you to say like, well, that's what this means for you. I think that's going to be the hard part for entrepreneurs going into the future is there's going to be this massive smorgasbord of things that they could choose from. But it's like, what does that mean for me? And what do I need that to do for me? And at the end of the day, it's either creating efficiency or generating revenue. It has to be one of those two things. And if it's not doing either of those two things, you probably shouldn't put your money in it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good point. I like that. Those two items is what you need to be looking at. And if not, then why use it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So in your career path or your success path, we'll call it to date, has there been influential, like a book, a podcast, something like that's been really influential to you?
In all honesty, the most influential thing to me has been like the people that I've worked with. I've been able to work with some just incredibly brilliant people. And I'm in awe of these people. Like I feel like I don't belong sometimes. Like these people are so brilliant. And I learned so much from them. I would say that's what keeps me going. That's what inspires me. It's just really cool to work with super smart people.
Yeah, well, just so you know, I've talked to a lot of people that have worked with you, and that's what they're saying about you. So it's like, oh my gosh, she's so much smarter than all of us. So the feeling it goes multiple ways from people.
Oh, thanks. I don't feel there's lots of days I don't feel that for sure. But that's like, you surround yourself with people that you aspire to, and I feel grateful that I get to do that. And I'm happy to bring people along with me. That's what I want to do the most. I want people to be able to benefit from all of these things that these brilliant people are doing. And so I often feel like I'm kind of that connector person or that bridge or the person that really wants everyone to collaborate and work together, because I think that we are all so much better off if we find ways to effectively collaborate and work together. There's just so much from an abundance perspective. There's just so much opportunity out there for everybody.
Yeah. No, I agree on that.
Yeah.
So if there was one piece of advice that you could give somebody that wanted to follow in your footsteps, so we'll call it the entrepreneurial route, not the finance route. What would that be?
I would say just try. Like, just go out there and try, and talk to people like Matt, talk to people like myself, like talk to us, ask us questions, do the little things. I think it's like doing the little things, like, get your business license and talk to your accountant. I actually think it's that the momentum comes from doing the little things. So do all of those little things, and that starts to make you feel like you are an entrepreneur, and then you start to kind of fall into the space of being an entrepreneur. So I think that don't underestimate the value of taking small steps and the momentum that can create for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I have a quick story on that one is, my world is real estate for the most part, working with investors in the real estate sector. And I wanted to be involved in real estate since as long as I can remember. And finally somebody in 2018 said, just do it. Like, just go and buy a rental house then. So I did. And after that, I was like, well, that was easy. Like, let's go get 2 more and 3 more. And now we fast forward 6 years, and now we're looking at, buildings that, unless there's 100 doors there, we don't want to touch it. And so it is funny that it's that little momentum that if you just do one thing, it leads to the other. So incorporating a business, or getting a business license, or getting a mentor that you can sit with once a week. It's those little things that really propel it.
I agree. Do your market research, like Google the shit out of everything. Sorry, I don't know if this is an explicit
You're okay
podcast.
To swear
okay.
On this.
Like, honestly, do your research. Use Chat GPT, use Perplex. I love Perplexity AI. It's my favorite one, but
I've never heard of that. What is Perplexity?
It's like a Chat GPT, a chat bot, or like chat assistant, but in GPT, in Perplexity, and GPT might do this now, I haven't used it in a while. In Perplexity, they give you all the citations from where they pull the information from.
Oh, okay.
So it just felt in the beginning a little bit more legitimate to me, because then I could actually store the information from where I was getting my answers, where they were cited from. So you can kind of just dive a little bit deeper into the research. There's also another really cool tool, it's called Visology. It's like in a beta form. I'll type it out to you and send you the name.
Sure.
I subscribe to it because it can help you a lot with market research.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So I'm scrambling to write these down as we're talking, but I'll follow up with you on them as well.
Yeah, I'll send it. I'll send that one to you. It's been really beneficial in many ways for me, whether it's like researching technology problems to solve, or doing research on burnout. Like, it's been super helpful.
Good. Awesome.
Yeah.
So if somebody wanted to get in contact with you, either from, a potential client side, or just to reach out, where would they get a hold of you?
Yeah. You can find me on LinkedIn, just Tevi Legge. Send me a note. I'm like probably 5 days behind on responding to people. So just give me some grace and response time there. You can find the podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. You can email me. Burnout Lab. Yeah. You can email me, Matt, if you want to include my email address in like the notes. You can definitely do that. Anyway, reach out to me anyway, wherever you can find me, reach out, and I'm happy to chat, have conversations with you about doing business or whatever is on your mind.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time today, Tevi. That was, I learned a lot from it, so I hope everybody else did as well. And it was really nice to have you on the show.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt. Take care.
Thanks very much.
See ya.
You've been listening to Beyond Wealth, Success Unscripted with Matt Calnan. Want to be our next guest? Visit beyondwealthpodcast.ca/guest. See you on the next episode.